Psychochronic, aka Psychorarity, and here we are with another episode of Rarity Talk. And if you don't know what Rarity Talk is, it's my vlog or podcast or show, whatever you want to call it, which just documents various experiences of me and the fighting game community. And here we are again with episode, not 16, 26. My experience with the original Xbox Live. Psychochronic, aka Psychochronic, discusses my experience with the original Xbox Live. My experience with the various fighting games on the original Xbox Live from March 2004 to May 2006. My only reliable practice tool during the latter time frame of the arcade era in Toronto Street Fighter. Xbox Live warrior with older arcade roots, seriously getting into fighting games 6 months right after the Daigo parry, a mirrored storyline of my first 2+ years in the fighting game community, but in the perspective of the Xbox Live warrior slowly transitioning into local scene regular, simply trying to learn whatever fighting games possible. The 26th episode of hopefully many, part Canadian history lesson, part time theater, part photo album, speaking throughout about the Canadian Street Fighter community through my perspective. So here we are. I have to go through 6 games and an origin story. So, origins. Graduated high school and moved back to Mississauga in February 2004. Managed by a 2-month Xbox Live trial subscription and 2 games. CVS2 EO, MotoGP2 from classmates before and during exam week. My brother had the Xbox, so my origin story goes is that when in high school I did half of it in Mississauga and half of it in another town called Tecumseh, Ontario. It's a little town that's right beside Windsor, Ontario, which is a border city of Detroit. So I lived in southwest Ontario from January 2000 and July 2001 to January 2004. Graduated in February, had to stay an extra semester. Walked out with these three items Xbox related. My brother had the Xbox, so I figure, it's an additional peripheral, additional games, why the hell not? Online warrior from outside the Toronto area with older arcade roots, coming from an arcade that the local scene established in 2001 never heard about. Rest in peace, Wizard's Castle, 1990 to 1996. So this arcade was specifically in the Meadowvale part of Mississauga. It's located in northwest Mississauga. It's a very old arcade in a very, I would say, rough neighborhood per se, and only 3 people of the history of the fighting game community has ever seen or even heard about this arcade, and I am one of those 3, and I'm still here to this day. And maybe another person still exists, that's a possibility, but out of us 3 people, I am possibly like the person. Possibly, I honestly did believe, this was the spot of where I honestly had to learn how to play Street Fighter and all that. But this was before the internet, and this is before forums and community and whatnot. So I come from a very older generation, because most people started when they were in high school, and same with me. It's just I came from the older crowd of it. One of very few players in GTA Toronto that joined the scene after Evo Moment 37, so January 2005, 6 months after, slowly transitioning from Xbox Live warrior to local scene regular. So this will explain the story of, just having to learn how to play games online, every game's, storyline, and then eventually that will get you out to the scene more. Aside from working part-time Monday, Wednesday, Fridays for $10 an hour in a shipping receiving warehouse, I took the year off and played on Xbox Live during days off. So what happened is in February 2004 I moved back. I didn't have a job waiting for me immediately. I had a job waiting within time. It's not like you're gonna get hired off the spot, no. So I remember having to play that 2-month trial Xbox Live, and within those 2 months I know I'd get hired for a job in a shipping receiving warehouse. It was pretty good money back then. I think the minimum wage was like $9-10 back then. Come on, this is like mid 2004. So it's like when most people graduate high school, they take the summer off and then they go to whatever college that they go to, or apprenticeship, or a job site or whatnot. Me, I immediately went to the workplace, but it's a good thing I had part-time job because I really wanted to take the year off and not do anything. Just gonna play Xbox Live on the days off. Like, you know what? I could sure use 1 year of rest from everything. Just be antisocial. Like, fuck school. You don't have to deal with that shit. Just be antisocial. Offline competition was too far and too much money, as a 1 year Xbox Live subscription of $80 costed as much as 3 local tournament appearances. Wasn't ready to compete in tournaments yet, so I'm not just gonna come in with a blank mind and having to learn how to play on the arcade stick just immediately after that. Like, I want someone to find me before I go in. And my thing is with Xbox Live is that I'm gonna have to learn basics and fundamentals and execution and whatnot. So I felt like at the time online was my only option because, like, come on, I was still an antisocial person at the time, so I didn't know much. So, like, we're still going into 2004 here. Willing to play whatever fighting game that's available or whatever non-fighting game for a cheap price. I'll play Mech Assault, I'll play Phantom Dust, I'll play ESPN NHL 2K5, ESPN NFL 2K5. I think I forget other games, but like, oh, alright, so I'll play whatever, just whatever it is. It doesn't even have to be fighting games. I was open-minded with games. Come on, at this time I was 18 turning 19. One of very few players in GTA Toronto that had the original Xbox and an active Xbox Live subscription. So back then you couldn't get 2-month trial cards and just use them over and over again on the same gamer tag. They were used for new gamer tags only. So you'd get a 2-month gamer tag, and then in order to renew that, you needed to either pay every month by credit card or go get a prepaid 1-year code. And I got that 1-year code. So there you go. So I felt like I'm coming from the online world, re-exploring arcade culture at the same time. Had to play online as the arcade with constant activity. Orbit Entertainment Center was 1-hour drive or 3 hours commute, and house casuals in your own region are private invite only. Mississauga. So it's like, well, I'm gonna play more online based on the fact that, like, come on, getting to the arcade was already far enough. I don't even drive. You have to commute 3 hours, which involve 5 transfers, and that's already a pain in the ass just to play on, you know, arcade cabinets, and you're not ready to play on arcade cabinets yet. And then house casuals, obviously, it was, you know, back then the scene was just extremely cliquish and childish, and just so many young high school punks and whatnot. The scene was already unwelcoming. They're not gonna. It's just the way it was. So it's like, well, I'm gonna have to play online. Any type of online play, Kylera Xbox Live was not considered accepted back then. It should be understandable that people had to go this route. Most likely reasons being budget and geographical disadvantage. So budget, when anyone enters the fighting game community, you know, and they want to compete in tournaments, most people are either young adults or students with limited discretionary income, and when they go to a tournament, they hope to recuperate those losses with winnings, either, you know, tournament placings, side bets, or money matches. So this shit is like kind of a hustle if you kind of think about it. Back then, people thinking, and we're going into 2005. Back then, people thinking going to tournaments to make money was a complete joke. No, people did this for the love of the game. You know, people thinking, oh, this is my side hustle. No. Geographical disadvantage, it's like, yo, most people don't live in a region with an active FGC, or let alone, you know, an FGC period. What if you lived in some kind of like rural, you know, area where it's like you gotta take the trains like 2 hours just to get into the city, and it's like, you know, $30 one way. Come on. So, you know, people living in rural areas, people, you know, that can't commute and drive, it's, you know, people are forced to play online. So it's like, oh, alright, so come on. Budget and geographical disadvantage is the reason why, you know, you had so many people, even starting in fighting games, is the reason why they did not go to tournaments offline or go enter scene activity, which is understandable. Back then, it was like it was a disgrace. Oh my God, you play online? Ha 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 ha. Like, no, it was ridiculous. All matches and all games are being played on the Xbox S Pad. Too broke to afford an arcade stick at $150 while being in a local scene with potential stick crisis within the player base. So basically, think this through. Everything that I'm playing within this video and within my first 2 years is all on the in terms of the Xbox, was all on the Xbox S Pad. Back then, people had sticks for PS2 and some had for Dreamcast, but for original Xbox, it was like almost impossible and no interest. So you're playing all the games on an Xbox S Pad because getting a decent stick will cost you $150. Now, with the local scene going in a potential stick crisis, I live in Mississauga at the time, so our local arcade nearby, which is called the Game Skybox, is on American sticks, Hap parts. The thing is that in the Toronto Street Fighter community, all the competition is in uptown Toronto, where you have to play it at an Asian themed mall, and everything is played on Japanese arcade cabinets and Japanese arcade sticks. So I'm already going through a crisis of I have to play on pad at home. The nearest arcade to me is American sticks, but all the major competition is in Japanese sticks, and all the regular competition too, because Orbit Entertainment Center was the only reliable place that they can host events, especially for big ones like majors. So you're already going through 2 stick crises and you're starting off in a pad, which is like, okay, this is not going to be easy. Alright, I'm just going to continue on. Capcom versus SNK2EO. So every time I'm going to see a video, we're going to go to my Fightcade layout and we're going to load this motherfucker while we talk.
Next location is Osaka.
Alright, so let me just lower this. There you go. Alright, so the introduction that I got into this game is that I bought this game from a classmate during grade 12 math exams in January 2004, so my final month in high school. He was in my math class, and you know, just a classmate where I bought the game off of him. So I bought CVS2 EO and MotoGP2 for $30. I still remember the gamer tag. Alright. Think CVS2 for PS2 Dreamcast, but with slight changes that mean a big difference. So I had burned copy of the Dreamcast version, and that's identical to the burned copy that I gave my cousin at the time who had a modded PS2. Alright, cool. It's like, yo, a PS2 game and a Dreamcast game are like compatible, are like, you know, that they can run equally, which is pretty cool. Here with CVS2 EO, it can run equally, yes, but I immediately felt like that there was differences when I played it. So it's slight changes that do mean a big difference. The gateway game that got me into the FGC, Shoryuken. GameFAQs isn't really considered part of the community at the time due to extreme casual mindset, along with the lack of competition is extremely embarrassing. So not many people, well, you know, could talk trash and back it up. Not many people, you know, went to local tournaments. You know, just a lot. It was just, you know, internet. It was just the internet back then. Like, this is 2004, 2005 at the time, so, you know, how Maroon Eagle should be top tier, and because they have weapons, and, like, you know, if you use A-Groove, you're cheap, blah, 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 this, and that. It's ridiculous. So I considered Shoryuken to be more serious when it comes to competition, because at least, like, Shoryuken They fucking endorse Evo. They run the biggest tournament, in the U.S. now in the world. Most people that play online, they play offline and they support their local scene. I don't see that with GameFAQs. So Shoryuken was basically like the site to go to for all the matchmaking. Learning various characters along the way to fit your playstyle, Raiden, along with studying whatever match video possible. So with me using Raiden, and I want to use a different character, a different style or whatnot. So I felt like this character was good. So for me to learn Raiden, I'd have to find and download videos of either Chikyu Sodom, Desora, or VDO, the 3 players in the OG days that actually named the character on their team. So, I understand that CVS2 is a 3v3 KOF hybrid game, so I have to learn a specific play style and a groove, and I have to learn 3 different characters. So I felt like Raiden was the character that kind of defined me in here, based on also one thing is like character unfamiliarity, and this is the character that I felt like I was winning matches and winning rounds. So I felt like alright, other notes. This is the first main fighting game I wanted to learn, but you're starting off in the inferior version of the game nobody cares about or has access to. Perfect example of both learning a game and entering a scene ass backwards. So what I've presented here is, because I'm starting off in the inferior version of the game and I'm finding out the differences, I decided to write a FAQ a very long time ago of all of the differences between PS2, Dreamcast Arcade, and GameCube, Xbox. So back then I found out all the points and all the gameplay. S-Groove charges faster, P-Groove has a super cancel. P-Groove has been buffed to build more meter. Characters can jump in with an air attack and still activate to an A groove. Roll cancel has been removed. Added the EO feature. Added Xbox Live support. Minor sound bug. Sagat Kami Blanca damage properties 5% decreased. King, Dan, Kyosuke, Maki, Zangief, Raiden, Yuri Eagle, and Rio 5% damage increased. Kami bounces a lot higher when her cannon spike gets blocked. Maki can no longer just juggle a custom combo after her P throw in the corner, but Hibiki can juggle a custom combo after her K throw in the corner. Sagata's minor frame disadvantage and Kim's infinite has been removed. 4 replays in PS2 Dreamcast, but you have 10 in Xbox. Training stage music is random in EO version. So I made a FAQ a very long time ago of all the differences, and it's like these slight differences do make a difference. Online player base with Shoryuken forums, Xbox Live matches from JustDefend.com. So we're gonna go to the Wayback Time Machine. We're gonna go to JustDefend.com. Yeah, I have all this information. It's so easy to research it because I literally lived and breathed this time frame. This site is dedicated to bring you CVS2 EO matches played on Xbox Live. These are not videos of well-known players. They're just matches of just regular people. People who support their local scene. That some of them are not top players. Some of them can be scrubs, which is fine. Some of them can just be live regulars. So, yeah. So yeah, this is just like the online player base of everything, and I'm glad I have mentioned JustDefend.com because I can say, okay, let's just go to my channel really quick, because when they released a lot of footage, I have probably archived everything from this world of CVS2 EO Xbox Live. So that's a lot. Almost all the footage that they've released, I've managed to archive and salvage it. It doesn't matter if it's from JustDefend.com or not. It can be from other people. Dally Picard from Chicago, Snake from New York, Jason Blackman from the Tri-State, YYY, Akira 9Kai from Japan, me from Canada, Wes Paul from the South, Chi 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 from Japan, Unsorted. I have everything. I've archived everything from CVS2 EO. So this was basically like the media part of the community. There was no YouTube back then. So people, you had to direct download, and servers cost money, bandwidth. Custom names, custom music, custom names, and color edits were a thing because everyone did it, which is fine and cool. But the one thing you would never do is play EX Groove. That shit is not even allowed in tournament play, and offline scenes won't even allow it in casual play. Being an EX Groove regular would make you look like a casual scumbag. Complete irrelevance that nobody cares of outside the casual level. So it's one thing, people had their custom colors and want to show it off, and if they want to put names on it, that's fine. That's all cool. But with EX Groove, it's like, no. You had people, that can, like, parry or just defend while having, an A Groove activation meter. You have people that can do chain combos to the point where two of them can just do like half-life and a guaranteed stun. It was ridiculous. Super cancels. It was just, no one cared about EX Groove. So I'll explain a little story. This is before my time, so I think 2003 until like 2005. I didn't exist back then. So apparently the lore in the CVS2 EO Xbox Live scene is that there's a a group of people that played only EX Groove, and they were called the X Clan, and they only played on EX Groove. They didn't care about, honor or whatever. They were just a bunch of casual motherfuckers. And when being told of this, it's like, not even they will always get bad games or whatever because they're EX Groove people, but they will not post on shoryuken.com for fear of whatever reputation or whatever. So it was pretty much known that anyone that was part of this X Clan or an EX Groove user, you'd obviously wouldn't be taken seriously in the scene. That's just the way it is. And there were people that actually were EX Groove users. They were loud and proud, if you kind of think about it. So anyone that thought that EX Groove would give you some level of credibility or respect in the scene, that's just never gonna fucking happen. And there were people that actually believed in that. So no fucking deal. Very great netcode, various pauses during the match rather than input delay. Alright. It was very good for its time, 2004, 2005. It was something that, something outside of Japan that could be done. And this was a prime game in that. CVS2 EO being the first fighting game on a main console, the amount of activity was pretty constant, but the volume of Xbox Live warriors have little to no interest in competing in local and offline events. So it can show that maybe to some people, such as myself, that this is their first fighting game that they're going to play online and they're going to learn. And maybe some people just didn't have the time because, most people are all students or people have limited discretionary income, and they, and some people live far beyond that. Local competition is like hours and hours away, that you just can't warrant that. So you had people that did play online, but some people were just not interested back then. I don't know, for whatever reason. Even people, even the EX people, that these X Clan people, if you think about it, yeah, they weren't even interested in going to offline events. You could, well, you can't convince a casual to enter a tournament. It's very hard to do that. And trying to convince, like, yo, online doesn't mean shit, and thinking that online will get you some type of reputation. No, back then online warriors got clowned, and there was no storyline, to kind of, justify internet viciousness, as some people who rage quit on you gets exposed on a whole new level. So this was a funny thing. So back then every thread had a good games thread and also a bad games thread. So for every one good game post you did, you saw, you'd get bad games in return. 3 bad game posts in return. The ratio was 3-1. So there were people that rage quitted, and some people got called out. Hey man, you're a rage quitter. What the hell? And then you'd have internet arguments or whatever. It went as far as, like, some of these people who rage quit on people, they have a gamertag pics profile. So think of gamertag pics as, like, it's exactly the same layout for Facebook. It's just like a matchmaking for gamers. You put your real face, and you put your location and the games you play, and then you just go on from there, matchmaking. So some people who did rage quit were called out on Shoryuken, and then the argument would be so ridiculous to the point, oh yeah, how dare you say this to me, blah 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 blah. Is this who you are? This is your gamertag pics profile. So the gamertag's profile would be linked to Shoryuken, and then within 4 to 6 hours they would delete that profile. And then there's a high chance that, and I've seen this happen about 6 times, about 4 times, some of these people that rage quit would never post on Shoryuken again, and they would never play a fighting game on Xbox Live ever again because of what happened. Hey man, you rage quit to the wrong people, and then they found your profile from another forum to which you voluntarily put your picture and location there, and then someone found out and put that gamertag pics profile to Shoryuken on the bad games thread. This is what happens. You didn't know it would escalate this far, but it's like, that's just the way shit was to some people. Like, oh my god, I rage quitted. So like, you rage quit, and someone found your profile and just posted it up. Exit. So what made me quit this? The game is too laggy even after mid-2006, and I'm sick and tired of casual matches in an inferior version with no progress or improvements. So I've said this in previous episodes that CVS2 is the one game I wanted to do good locally in the scene in terms of offline competition, and I feel like I could not achieve that because you're playing an irrelevant version, a casual version, nerfed version of the game that nobody accepts. You're not improving shit. You're learning how to play the game properly, at least, to a degree. Alright, a totally different game in where the competitive community rejects. Impossible to get any level of validation from this version of the game. No local scene would ever put this game on their tournament list. So, is this the final point? Okay, so to finish off this chapter, and I'll just wait till this match ends to finish off the chapter. So how is an Xbox Live warrior or a casual player going to convince their local tournament organizer to buy GameCubes or Xboxes with PS2s to whatever converters to play an inferior version of this game? Like, this game, we come from a mentality of arcade perfect. We play on arcade perfect, and if we can't play on the arcade version of the game, at the time we play on the PS2 or Dreamcast version of the game. Majority of people already have PS2 sticks and whatnot, so it's like, there you go. So how are you going to convince a tournament organizer? It doesn't matter if it's a local or a major. Play this version of the game because it's the game is balanced and they fixed all the glitches and whatnot. No, you can't do that. That's just not going to happen. So I'll just leave this at that. Just finish at the right time. And yeah, so let me go back to OBS, Rarity Talk. There you go. Alright, so that's the end of that chapter with CVS2 EO of Xbox Live. So, the gateway game that got me to the community. And yeah, the gateway game, you know, got you to all these other games. And then your offline transition experience was not as planned out, as good. It wasn't as expected. You never improved. 0-2 at every fucking major, and not even once top 8 at a local, if anything. So, all right, so we'll just, there you go. We just go to the next chapter in Guilty Gear XX Reload. So let's go here, back to PC. Go 2 minutes. Alright. Yeah. Good. I could, yeah, alright. So, if anything, I'll just choose the best matches. Okay, so with the last video, that had me in it, but this one has none of me. There's no Guilty Gear matches of me on Xbox Live. So the introduction with this game is that I bought this game from EB Games Square One upon release in September of 2004. $20 introductory price is a great deal if you're willing to learn an anime fighter for the first try. I didn't know shit about Roman cancels, and I tried to play an anime game as if it was a Street Fighter game. And I started off using Testament, then I tried out Jam, ended with Eddie, and only used Eddie in tournaments. You're trying to play the game as if it's like, you know, fireball zoning, as if it was CVS2, and that's not going to happen. You still need to learn about, you know, relaunch, you know, launch combos and, you know, cancel combos and whatnot. You're using the tension meter as super meter rather than, you know, Baroque. You're using the burst meter as a get out of any combo rather than an offensive tool if you gain a full meter. If you use it as an offensive tool. So here I'm learning another gaming series ass backwards. Right. One of the worst netcodes in matchmaking and where online can't help you. Learning the basics and fundamentals of this game along with trying to level up is almost impossible. This is one of the worst netcodes ever. Like, the delay was so bad. The delay was so bad that everyone would be dropping combos. It's ridiculous. Exit. The only way to level up in this game is local Toronto sessions. This is the main anime game of the scene because Toronto was but one of the very few scenes to actually have a Guilty Gear XX cabinet in their arcade. Trying to help out Xbox Live Warrior, try to come out and compete in a local tournament just to be brushed off. Dead Man Beast. So this is a story I've explained before in a previous episode, episode 7. So I'll say it now. I'm the type of person where I don't mind having local people, local Toronto area people on my friends list for Xbox Live. I don't mind helping out a casual trying to explore, you know, the local FGC and trying to explore tournaments and whatnot. So back then, I think this is 2005 or 2006. 2006, not all tournaments in Toronto were hosted at Orbit. They did some at York University. York University had CVS2, Third Strike, Anniversary Edition, Capcom Fighting Jam, and they also had Guilty Gear XX. So I'm already planning to go to this local tournament. I forget when or where. I don't forget the details of this York University tournament. So they played the tournament at York Lanes. You know, so I went to, I think it was in January 2006, just to be specific with the story and the timeline. So I told this guy, yo, that they do some tournaments at York University. yo, I think you should show up if you want to play Guilty Gear and in an offline setting with none of this lag bullshit, and like you're playing in an arcade machine. This guy told me at the time, Deadman Beast, that he was very interested in showing up here. So we exchanged phone numbers, and when he gave me his phone number, I gave him the heads up that I have to leave 7 in the morning to get to York University at 9:30, so when the arcade opens at 10 a.m. I will call you from York University. So I called him from a payphone at York University because I didn't have a cell phone at the time. Hello, is Charles or CJ happen to be home? And then I was told, you got the wrong number. So I'm like, okay, I tried to help this person out. This person gave me the commitment and then blatantly lied to me. Not blatantly, this person clearly lied to me. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So, whatever, the local scene does the tournament, whatever, he doesn't show up. So I go the next, day or two on Xbox Live, and I talk to him about this, what the hell, man? You said you were promising, you made some type of, not promise, but commitment to show up, and you didn't. So it's what the hell? How come, you got to explain. You gave someone, a girl answered the phone. I will assume it's your sister or whatever, and told me that this was a wrong number. I said, is Charles or CJ home? And I was given a wrong number. He gave me an excuse of he didn't wake up in time or whatever, and he said something about a condition. I don't know if it's a physical condition or a mental condition or a disability. I don't know. Something was preventing him from showing up to this York University tournament. It's yo, whatever, yo, you made a commitment. Someone went out of the way to fucking try to help you, and you fucking brushed the guy off. Screw you, I don't want to fucking help you ever again. And from there on in, when I unfriended this Deadman Beast on Xbox Live, I never played Guilty Gear XX Reload ever again. Alright, so after this match, we'll go in the next chapter. So at the time, the local Toronto scene is transitioning versions every year at the home major. So in 2004, before I showed up, you had to play Arcade XX. But in 2005, that the year I showed up, was Arcade Reload. So when 2006 came in for our home major, Arcade Reload is the only option if the upgrade for Slash doesn't come into orbit on time, and the arcade upgrade board for Slash did come on time for our home major in 2006. So we played Guilty Gear XX Slash, and then the next year when Toronto transitions from arcade to console, what's the Guilty Gear of this one? Guilty Gear XX Accent Core, but we play the game on PS2. So every year you had to play a different version of the game just to keep up with the scene. It's just like when, with Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5 and all these, modernized fighting games. Well, to a degree, Guilty Gear and Tekken had to go through that. You had to play a different version of the game just to keep up, and accessibility was an issue for a lot of people. Me, I'm not at this point, because Deadman Beast fucking pissed me the fuck off. I'm like, okay, fuck it. I'm not gonna play Guilty Gear after Slash. After Slash, I'm done. Local Mississauga group on the uprising G3 Evolution, in where you can properly learn basics and fundamentals of various anime and kusoge games. So when I ended my Xbox Live subscription in May 2006, G3 Evolution doesn't come into the scene until October 2006, and our home major is in between in July. So in October 2006, G3 Evolution comes in. It's the newest anime fighting game group out of a basement, and they play various fighting games that not really that the main scene touch. So they play their Melty Blood, and they have their KOF, and they have their Garo, and here you have your Guilty Gear, and this is the place and group where you actually felt like you can properly learn basics and fundamentals of these anime games. More than Xbox Live can ever teach you. There you go, right there. So even though I suck at Guilty Gear, and I've always sucked in Guilty Gear, I've always felt like, okay, now I can pause because it's almost the end of the chapter. So I felt like learning from G3 Evolution, it really meant a lot if you had a a local scene to help you out, because local scenes can help you out far more than any Xbox Live connection ever could. So yeah, so that's my history with Guilty Gear XX Reload, and go back here, and then Thanos Snap. Hyper Street Fighter 2, the Anniversary Edition. Alright. Hyper Street Fighter 2, the Anniversary Edition. One of 2 games part of the Street Fighter Anniversary Collection. Bought this game from EB Games Square One upon release in February 2005. Perfect timing to learn another game while exploring the local scene. So, okay, and just time. I know the last 2 matches here are me. The last 2 here are me. Toronto is one of very few locations to have the CPS2 board, so Orbit Entertainment Center eventually transferred to York University. So we were one of the very few scenes in North America to have Anniversary Edition, not Super Turbo. And that kind of meant, I wouldn't say it was a big deal at the time, but it was the newest CPS board that Capcom released in years, so... You know, it's something to celebrate the Street Fighter 15th anniversary, so... Going back to your roots, but in an updated mix and match version of the game, AE equals ST Edition select. So my roots, going all the way back to Wizard's Castle, are Champion Edition, Alpha 1, Alpha 2, Marvel Superheroes, and X-Men Children of the Atom. I always had the Street Fighter 2 mindset, so here you're learning Super Turbo, so you're learning a faster version of Super Street Fighter 2, the new challengers, with you know, additional additions and changes, along with mixing and matching. So you get to choose Champion Edition Bison versus World Warrior Guile. You get to choose Super Turbo Sagat versus Hyper Fighting Zangief, and you know, all the possibilities and endless that you have. So I figure, plus this is a legacy game. At the time, this is one of Toronto's legacy games. I mean, you gotta have a legacy game in the scene, and in this point, I think Toronto did start off in ST, but AE is where it gets the emphasis, because I know in Toronto Street Fighter in the OG days, AE is the main SF2 game. Character experimentation at the time: ST Chun-Li, ST Balrog or Boxer, and then ST Zangief. Other notes: not surprised to see Capcom using the same interfaces, menus, and rankings for matchmaking. So I'll just put these 3 tweets. Alright, so this is the leaderboards. When you played Third Strike, okay, you're seeing Third Strike, this is the leaderboards, and they use the exact same thing originated from CVS2EO when it came to leaderboards. The exact same ranking system, the exact same matchmaking, netcode, menus, everything. So Capcom really kind of did recycle it when it came to the Xbox Live portion. So this is CVS2EO that expands to Third Strike, and this is Capcom Fighting Evolution, and this is Hyper Street Fighter 2. Of all the fighting games you're learning at the point, this game has to be the best in your arsenal. So at this point, this is the 3rd of 6 games that I'm learning within this time frame, and I felt like Anniversary Edition, and I'm basing this off of like win ratio and, you know, consistency. I honestly felt like I did way better in AE than I did in every other game. And I'm not saying that in an online perspective, but in an offline perspective also. Great netcode unless you're playing someone overseas, because you compare AE to Fighting Jam or CVS2 or Third Strike. This game has to be the least detailed. So anyone can think the less detailed, meaning it's better netcode. Going to your first Orbit tournament and getting third place, second time using Sandwich sticks in tournaments, finally showing some decency in any fighting game in Toronto. So when I went to Orbit Entertainment Center in May 2005 for the first time ever, it took me 3.5 hours and 5 different transfers and commutes just to get to this arcade. And it's the second time I'm playing on Sandwich sticks, and they had a bunch of different games. They had Capcom Fighting Jam, they had Capcom vs SNK 2, and they had Anniversary Edition. So I decided to enter Anniversary Edition, and I made it all the way to both Winners Finals and Losers Finals. I lost to Jamie WB, who uses ST Chun-Li, and then in Losers I lost to Flightwing from Scarborough, who used ST Ryu. He got sent to Losers first round and won the whole tournament. So this is my second tournament ever, but first for AE, and getting third place shows that already within a fast amount of time I showed a level of decency in a game. So AE had to be the best pick. Trying to help out an Xbox Live warrior to try to come out and compete in a major tournament just to be brushed off. Savalis, aka Vanilla Tear. So let me get a sip of water here. Alright, so the same thing with the Dead Man Beast story. Savalis, aka Vanilla Tears, is a different issue. So when I first heard of this kid, this stupid idiot, this kid played Anniversary Edition, and he would play on Xbox Live. This Savalis is from Hamilton, Ontario, which is basically 70 kilometers west of downtown Toronto. Okay, so Savalis was known for rage quitting, and he was also been called out in the forums for, rage quitting and being a cheap ass and talking a lot of shit and blah 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 blah, whatever. So this guy rage quitted on me. I called him out on it, and I said, yo, if you think you're fucking good, you should go to this major tournament called T6, and they have Anniversary Edition. I gave him all the details. This guy fucking still rage quit on me, and I'm still trying to be friendly with him, but if this guy thinks he was hot shit, he should show up to a tournament. That tournament just happened to be your home major. So I gave him all the details, that it should take him about 2 hours to drive there, but if he can't, and he has to commute, it'll take him 4 to 5 hours to commute there. And even if he did commute, chances are he's not going to make it to the registration in time. He said he'd make the commitment to show up, and he didn't show up. So that really disappointed me. So that I felt like that was fucked up. Someone from Xbox Live, that's rising in the scene. I was at the time. I was 6 months in the scene. I was, slowly getting into the scene. Is trying to help someone else, and you basically brushed them off and lied to, and said you'd show up, and you didn't show up. Psychochronic has the right to be pissed off at you. Blah 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 blah. This guy fucking went off, and he basically felt like he didn't have to prove anything. Oh, I already beat you online. I don't need to fucking prove anything to you. Blah 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 blah. So he played the scumbag route. So I had this planned out that if you're gonna fucking let's say he did show up, I would play the scumbag route so bad that I would have this guy face Justin Wong first round in tournament, just to prove that I'm not fucking joking. Like, you think you're good? Let's see you face the best player in the whole tournament in Justin Wong. Let's see how good you really are. So that I already had my fucking ace in the hole already. If he was to show up, he'd face Justin first round. He didn't show up, he's a stupid little bitch. So Savalis basically within time got banned from the forums. So he made another account called Vanilla Tears. He'd do his same thing. He'd rage quit on people. He'd talk shit on the fucking forums, whatever. And you're allowed to link websites from your Shoryuken profile. The website he linked to was some type of porn site that had malware and viruses and Trojan horses and whatnot that he ultimately got banned from Shoryuken, never to come back again. He didn't make it past 2007. 2006, 2007. He was gone. So I tried to help, an Xbox Live warrior from the same region, and he basically brushed me off. And then the next year, when Jamie WB, another Chun-Li from his own city, tried to convince him, I basically said, yo, fuck this guy, don't even bother, he ain't gonna fucking come out. And he basically agreed, yeah, leave me the fuck alone, competition should come to me. Nah, fuck you ungrateful. Sorry, but that's just the way it is. If you're gonna talk shit, you have to back it up, and he never made that attempt. So I tried. Exit. Let's go to my matches. So I know that's me. The last 2-3 matches are me here. So what's the exit? Local Toronto arcade Orbit Entertainment Center got rid of the AE board, but Dogberry is willing to donate his ST board to be used for the next home major in T7. So it was basically agreed that AE is jank and ST is the best balanced one, so let's just have ST from now on, because it's going to be hard to get that board from York University back to Orbit for one weekend. It's a complete waste of time. ST becomes the main SF2 game in Toronto, with Dogberry willing to train you for the upcoming major in T7. So the training process is that in order for this to happen, I need 2 sticks for Dreamcast. One, I had a Hori EX2 modded for PS2 with a Dreamcast converter, and the other is that I had a Dreamcast Saturn Mass Stick, but it was concave buttons on a hap stick. So I'd invite Dogberry to my house at 9 in the morning. I work night shift, he works afternoon shift, so we can only get together in the morning. And then we'd go out for breakfast, and then we'd play 100 games of Dreamcast Super Turbo, which is 3.5 hours. So by 1 o'clock, he'd be out of my house, and he'd be ready to go to work while I go to sleep. We did this about 2 times a month for 3 months, so 6 of these sessions, and this was brutal as fuck. Like, holy shit. This was like intense training sessions that I felt like, most people couldn't tolerate. Once, try playing 100 games straight. That game is going to be, that's just going to be difficult, but you're learning something. You're finally learning something. Not only by skill of the games, but by community psychology. So that's why I always thank Dogberry of helping me get good in this game and mentoring me throughout the way in the OG days when nobody else did. So, alright. Alright, let's go back. Alright, let's continue on. Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. Alright, so let's switch out this here and that down, and here you go to some footage and info. Alright, so this is one of 2 games that's part of the Street Fighter Anniversary Collection. Bought this game from EB Games Square One upon release in February 2005. Perfect timing to learn another game while exploring the local scene. So this is an exact same similarity to AE Anniversary Edition. You have 2 games in one compilated disc, and you happen to have one game, Third Strike, which happens to be the main game of the scene, and you happen to have another game in Anniversary Edition, to where you are one of the very few scenes, one of Toronto's main FG games, with the home major NT series, bringing in 50 with various US guests in the past. So Anniversary Edition you had as a side game, Third Strike you had as a main game here. So back then, when Canadian majors were in the arcades, and it was called the T-Series. Past U.S. guests were in 2004, so the year before I showed up was Mike Watson and Paul Lee, and in 2005, the year that I showed up, was Justin Wong, Ricky Ortiz, Arturo Sanchez. So Third Strike was pretty serious business. You got about 55 to, let's say, 65 for the whole major, which is pretty good. For a Canadian major in the arcade era, it really did mean a lot. One of the games in Toronto is known for, thanks to the TOSF Parry exhibition released in 2002. So I'm going to play a little bit of that. Just a bunch of red parries and then counteract, hurricane kick, super art 3. So we're just going to go. So on the left, I have a TOSF Parry exhibition in 2002, and on the right, I have Xbox Live matches, the original Xbox Live from Street Fighter Anniversary Collection in 2005-2006. So Toronto was pretty much known for Third Strike. It was basically like everyone. It's basically like equivalent to, let's say, New York City, Chinatown. All the fobs kind of learned from each other. All the locals kind of learned from the fobs, and that's how everyone leveled up. And Toronto, we had variety, so it wasn't all Yun Chun Ken. We had Yang, Makoto, Necro, Hugo, Oro, Q, Sean, Elena, Dudley, Alex, Ryu, Urian. Alright. I think we had character variety in Toronto, which was pretty good. And we were one of the very few in North America to play on actual Japanese arcade cabinets. Most scenes were transitioning into console, or they played on US arcade sticks. So I'm not surprised to see Capcom using the same interfaces, menus, and rankings for matchmaking. As you all saw in the previous chapter for AE, when I pulled those 3 tweets from SRKcade, when they revived the original Xbox Live in this current day that you can play. It's called Insignia. Same interfaces, same menus, same rankings, same netcode, same everything. Recycle. So there were some people that had the audacity to main Gil on Xbox Live, and this is one name I remember: Zero Tolerance. Doing this makes you a casual scumbag. You are as no different as the EX Groove user in CVS2. You think you're good, but you're gonna, pull off something a casual scumbag would do. You're gonna use a boss character, and even still, when you use a boss character, you're gonna fucking rage quit when you lose. Not legitimate. You're not gonna prove yourself to a bunch of Xbox Live people, especially if some of these Xbox Live people play in their local scene. You're not gonna go into your local scene and fucking play Third Strike, yo, I main Gil. You realize that your own local scene will fucking laugh at you out the door. You're gonna be laughed out the fucking window if you even have the audacity to say, yo, I main Gil. Surprisingly decent in this game in offline events, even though I put so much time in CVS2. So, one example is this little comparison in my second home major in T7, that I managed to get 1 and 2 in Third Strike in a 50+ man bracket, and it's better than getting 0 and 2 in CVS2 in a 30-man bracket, because here at least I even though the entries is almost doubled, CVS2 to Third Strike, the entries is almost doubled, at least you had higher chance of fucking winning at least one match and not getting 0 and 2. Thank God. So here at least I surprisingly showed some level of decency in the game. Exit. The only way to level up in this game is local Toronto sessions. This is the main game of the scene. So obviously this is like the Holy Trinity: CVS2, Marvel 2, Third Strike, main game of the scene, the game that Toronto is actually known for. You might as well get a piece of the action, see what you can learn from it. Local Mississauga group G3 Evolution willing to host casual sessions and tournaments for this game. Only good alternative, you can't go to Orbit, 3 hours. So it's 3 hours to take the commute to Orbit, which is the primary spot for all the arcade activities, weeklies, monthlies. So it's like going there is too far, and I felt like, okay, because I'm already uh, in collaborating my casuals with theirs, and I'm already learning Guilty Gear fundamentals and Melty Blood fundamentals, anime Kusuge fundamentals, and they're doing other games like, you know, KOF, Neo Geo, SNK. They were willing to include Capcom games into their sessions. They had some level of Alpha 3, they had some level of CVS 2, and they had some level of Third Strike. So at least you're willing to learn some Third Strike here, thank goodness. Lag is tolerable at times, which makes parries even harder. Alright, and I'll let that be the last match. Character Crisis. Chun-Li, Ken, Yuri, and Neko Ryu. So at this point in time, I had a character crisis. I didn't know which characters to use. So you know, you're starting from Super Turbo Chun-Li, and you have little itty bitty bits of CVS2 Chun-Li. Let's see how you're gonna transition to a Third Strike Chun-Li. Not very well. You know, you can try to X-copy all the Japanese match videos that you want. That's just not enough. You know, experience is experience. Ken is because Ken's a Shoto. You know, I felt like he was the easiest Shoto. But in comparison of why I have Ryu listed is because I used Ryu in Denjin. I never used Shinku Hadouken. I always used Denjin Hadouken. Necro is because I wanted just a low tier character with reach, so basically the electric Dhalsim of the game. And you know, watching some Sugiyama videos at the time, I felt like Necro, you know, it can only be good in the right hands, and that's not me. Urien wasn't my ultimate pick because I felt like this playstyle did match Super Turbo Chun-Li to a degree. So I felt like, in the end of the story, I felt like Urien was the best choice. Alright, that's the end of that. Alright, let's go on to the next chapter, which is Capcom Fighting Evolution. Right, switch to PC mode, and there we go. Am I using, yeah, go here. Alright, so with Capcom Fighting Evolution, I bought this game from EB Games Square One upon release in June 2005. So everything here is all Xbox release dates that I got. Guilty Gear, September 2004. Anniversary Collection, February 2005. Here, Capcom Fighting Evolution, June 2005. Toronto is one of very few locations to have the Namco 246 board, so Orbit Entertainment Center transferred to York University. The only places that I know in North America that had this board was Family Fun Arcade in SoCal, Planet Zero in Houston, and Chinatown Fair in New York City. Other than that, Toronto actually had the actual Namco 246 board for this game. So, people, if you're going to think, what's a Namco 246? Well, think of the Naomi as the Dreamcast emulation. Namco 246 is PS2 emulation. So, you can take out the cart for Capcom Fighting Gem, and you can put in Soul Calibur 2, Soul Calibur 3 Arcade Edition, Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection, etc., etc. So, other notes: a rejected fantasy match fighting game that all the CVS2 players rejected looked like a Capcom produced Mugen on release on a Namco 246 board, which is exactly what exactly what you're seeing. However, it's the best netcode of all the fighting games I played on Xbox Live. Really, out of everything, so AE, CVS2, Third Strike, Capcom Fighting Evolution had the best netcode. It had the best. But at the same time, you're not surprised to see them use the same interfaces, menus, and rankings for matchmaking. So it's okay. I found the fun factor in this game. And yeah, that's me using Hauser, because I know Mystic breaks and shit, like Mystic break, Mystic counter. Having the chance to face Ricky Ortiz at the home major, along with Team Harlem, Jerron Grayson, after playing sets on Xbox Live. So, our home major had this game, and this was Empire Arcadia's first appearance here, and I got to play sets with Jerron beforehand, weeks before, because they had the game on Xbox Live. So I got to play against Jerron, and one of the very few top players I had to play in a home major is Ricky Ortiz, not only in Capcom Fighting Jam, but Anniversary Edition as well. I've already showed this video before, so this is basically me. This is my first tournament, major tournament. I'm 6 months in the scene, and you have to face, you know, a known player, one of America's best. So so much that you're experiencing in such little time, especially in such a shit game that a scene don't care about, is actually, you know, you're experiencing a lot. Exit. Dead game. It was a good 5+ months. You're one of only 2 players in Toronto Street Fighter to find the fun factor in this game, and you love the game so much that you wrote an in-depth fact for the game that took 16 months to complete. Alright, so I'm going to post this here. So what I have here is game facts, the move list and guide, an FAQ analysis, everything broken down from every character's past versions, to matchup knowledge, to damage output, pros and cons, just everything, basics, dynamics, history, just everything that I could ever think of. So it took me about 16 months to complete the fact for this game. So yeah, I just like the game so much. I just found the fun factor in it. It was basically a rejected CVS. Having the chance to actually hit #1 in the Xbox Live rankings clearly shows that you play too much, and that Xbox Live warriors, that they hold a less than half decent rank that nobody cares of outside the casual level. So, alright, I hit that #1 ranking in Xbox Live back then, but nobody cares about the game. The game is dead. So it just showed that you really needed to transition to offline if you really want that legitimacy, and it showed to me that, you know, you cannot just Xbox Live warrior it up. It just can't be done. Alright. SVC Chaos SNK versus Capcom. Alright. Don't remember when or where I bought this game, but $20 is a pretty good price for an SNK fighter on Xbox. So I remembered at the time that they released SVC Chaos SNK versus Capcom, Mortal Kombat Deception, and I forget the other game. Oh, Dead or Alive 2 Ultimate. Okay. So they released these 3 specific games within months of each other, and they all costed the same. They had the audacity to charge $69.99 Canadian for this shit, and it's like, no fucking way. I waited until these games were on fucking clearance. So this is one of the games, SVC Chaos SNK versus Capcom. Local Toronto Arcade and Orbit Entertainment Center has this game, and it surprisingly draws more money than Capcom Fighting Jam, Capcom Fighting Evolution, Neo Geo Battle Coliseum, Rumble Fish 2, Soul Calibur 2, and Hyper Street Fighter 2 Anniversary Edition combined on a standard tournament day. Machine also at York University. So it boggled my mind when people would go to Orbit back then, before the scene transitioned to the console, and this is the one game people would most likely play because of spillover time. Because when you somehow, you know, get sent to losers first round and you gotta wait 2 hours for your next match, here it's like, well, you gotta play on other games to kind of fill out the window. This game got more fucking playtime than 5 other games combined. So it clearly just showed, like, I don't know what's up. People actually did play this game. The game was fast as fuck, but it's like people didn't want to play AE. Soul Calibur got boring. Rumblefish 2, you hardly had a crowd for it. Neo Geo Battle Coliseum was dead, and Capcom Fighting Jam was dead. There's no local tournament activity for this game because the game sucks. Local Toronto FGC didn't accept any SNK fighters until KOF 13 in 2012. So the only activity that you had was the arcade activity before, you know, a Friday weekly or before a Saturday monthly. Local Mississauga group on the rise in G3 Evolution, and where you can properly learn basics and fundamentals of various anime and kusoge games. Various SNK fighters were allowed in casual, so King of Fighters 11, King of Fighters Maximum Impact Regulation A, and Neo Geo Battle Coliseum, as this was the nucleus of SNK fighters in Toronto FGC. So despite the fact that even though that this was like the new place to play fighting games, especially like even SNK activity in Mississauga, at least you came in with some mentality of how to play, you know, an SNK game at the time. And this unfortunately just happens to be SVC Chaos on the Xbox Live. Lag so bad that you can use it to an advantage. So my spinning flame super is a cross up that can't be blocked if timed right. Opponent moves slightly forward instead of walking back. So let me just find the clip. I need to use, because I used various characters. I used Earthquake, I used Mai, I used regular Iori. I'm trying to find the match, or at least so my specifically, see right there, done. I'm gonna replay that. If I do this up close, you can't block, so you're gonna think you can block, but then, you know, there's so much lag that you're gonna move forward. There you go. That confuses people right there. That is cheap as fuck. So you basically had lag to an advantage. Yeah. If you're using a specific boss character, so Gaints, Athena, or Shinakuma, I'm automatically using Orochi, Iori, screw you bitches. And the reason I say that is because, well, there's no tournament standard rules. It's like people did use Shinakuma or Ultimate Rugal online, but it wasn't to the rate of EX grooves. So here, there's no fucking rules. If you're using a boss character, which is over fucking powered, I'm gonna do the fucking same thing too. So fuck you bitches. Exit. It was fun while it lasted. Got some replays recorded, at least to remember this experience, to which I'm seeing right now after so many years. This is nearly 18 years later that I'm rewatching this shit. So yeah. So are we done? Alright. Switch back. Alright, and we are done. And that is this episode of Rarity Talk, episode 26, my experience with the original Xbox Live. So an almost mirrored storyline of how I got into in the OG days during the latter part of Toronto's arcade era. So felt like this is a story I wanted to share too. I had all the knowledge, I had all the videos, everything archived out. So alright, that's the end of that episode, and I don't know when's the next time I'm going to do another one, but I got a lot prepared out, so I'll see you when I see ya.